fell over here.
How you doing today?
I good.
That's good, Ashley. That's good, Kendrick. Ashley, how you settling in Turks?
There's still a lot to do, but I'm getting there slowly. I had a lot of orientation a few weeks back. A lot of the stuff that we were speaking about in class was in the orientation, which I was happy that I knew. So
good, excellent.
Yeah, with the sanctions and everything. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Yes.
Very good that you could make it relate to work.
Yeah.
I thought about you the other day because I saw this thing coming around. It says eggs for $12.95 and super value. I say, oh Lord, I hope Ashley don't have to buy eggs.
I'm messing with the eggs.
$12.95 over there.
No, I ain't even messing with the eggs. You don't want me. I ain't even bought them.
Yeah, but like I tell you, when I was there, it was $10. So if it's $12.95 over here, Lord, it must be $20.
I can check them tomorrow just to see.
Okay. Okay, but it's very good. It's very good that, you know, a lot of times we sit down in these orientations and we even have these functions to carry out and we really don't, we see what the book says, but we really don't understand them. So it's good that you can see the theory and practical and pull it all together and know the importance of it. Because a lot of times we say sanctions, nobody cares about sanctions, but at least now you know the importance.
Yeah.
Okay, so very good, very good.
And they have a compliance trivia thing going on right now, competition until January, so we'll see.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
That's good. Gerardo, what about you? How you doing today? Gerardo.
Good afternoon, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, pleasant good afternoon, my fellow cohorts. Everything is good, man. Right here, thank God. As you can hear the little one in the background, I doing some babysitting and trying to study at the same time. So, you know, I got my hands full.
Okay.
But I can make it though.
Okay, best of luck. Okay, good. But best of luck with them.
Appreciate it.
We could try to give them a listen since they've been a couple of classes.
Man, listen, every Tuesday the class. They need to get some extra points too, Ms. Bullock.
Understanding what's happening out there.
That's one.
Okay. And again, we know this class is all about compliance, right? And so my take on all what's happening is that there were 33, I think they say 33 or 40 Bahamian employees. Sorry, go ahead. Gerardo, you said something, no? Okay, there were a lot of employees, and prior to 2018, only the MLRO or the CEO would have gone to jail. After the laws change, everybody goes to jail, supposedly, right? And so somebody out of all of those persons working in that institution should have blown the whistle. So I don't know if they are going to, just prosecute him and then go after the compliance officer and anybody else, or if he will take the brunt of all the charges. But it's a lot of money and a lot of people are angry, and so they are going to keep pushing. And there are a lot of wealthy people that are angry, especially all of those persons that he used to do the ads, the Stephen Curry's, Shaquille O'Neal, Tom Brady. All of those people are very influential people, and they have a lot of money to send lawyers out there and pay them until they get their money back or until they destroy him. So we'll have to see how it all pans out. But one of the things that came up in the Congress meeting today was that they were using QuickBooks. Okay?
Lie.
And so for a Fortune 500 company, I mean, listen, QuickBooks. You know, somebody on Twitter said, shout out to QuickBooks. They just upgraded your brand.
What?
1 million customers. $32 billion and you're using QuickBooks, you should be blowing the whistle. Actually, if you walked into Scotiabank and Scotiabank was using QuickBooks for their customers' accounts,
oh, no.
would you think anything about that? You would say, this is the Scotiabank of Canada.
I would have think it was like
right?
a cartoon movie. I don't know what QuickBooks for a bank? No, no.
Okay, good. So we all know, we know better. Kendrick, even at the union, if the union you was pulling up QuickBooks every day or doing some stuff manually, what would you say?
Well, that's problems. That's problems. What's going on here? I try to figure out what's going on. Why are we using this nonsense?
Okay. But so again, all of these are red flags. All of these are red flags, and all of those persons would have worked, I imagine, somewhere in the financial services sector, and nobody questioned this.
Life was sweet, Miss Bullet. Life was sweet. Whenever life is sweet, nobody got nothing to say.
Okay, but at least going forth, we would have watched Dirty Money. We saw how Volkswagen defrauded the world with a system that nobody knew how to use. Okay? And so look out for systems that are just not adequate for the types of products and services that you're offering. Okay? The accounts department could probably use a version of QuickBooks to pay the bills, but that should not be the main central system of the organization. Yeah, okay, Ashley, you have a question?
So I was reading this article, one of the articles, I guess might be my article for tonight for about the FTX. It says Bahamian Bank, this is from the Tribune, Bahamian Bank chair on the U.S. Senate scrutiny on FTX. They were looking at a bank called Moonstone Bank, who's headed by Jane Chalopin, and he's also a chairman for Deltec. So again, the Deltec, and they're saying how can they have overseen, or I guess could have missed this 11.5 million investment made by the Alameda Research. So now they're saying they haven't been proven of doing anything wrong as yet, but the US senators are just scrutinizing them on that so far.
Right, and again, you know, I can't even talk about this, but anyway, yeah. So they need to, you know, it's already been announced. If you keep reading, you will already see the players, the people who are involved, and, you know, a certain amount of names are coming up. Now, Sam was arrested last night. Mm-hmm. We all know that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and he was supposed to appear before Congress today. So I think it's kind of strategic that he was arrested last night. I'm thinking that perhaps they did not want him to testify because he has been a little bit loose on the mouth and just saying stuff. So I don't think they feel that it would have been safe. And so the new CEO, the Ray Harris guy, went before Congress. Has anybody seen those testimonies today?
No, I know I didn't get an opportunity to follow today. The only thing I got to see is when the police actually brought him to court, and instead of parading him like they do regular Bahamian people, they took him on the opposite side of the building, away from public view, as they let him in, because multiple reporters were trying to get a view of him, and they came in with SWAT and everything.
Wow. I'm certain CNN and all of Fox News and all of them would have been out there, and I'm certain this is going to make it to Netflix. I'm positive.
Apparently, also, Ms. Bullard, they had representatives from the U.S. Embassy who were there before court started.
Okay, and I got word in a long document came out that said the judge, Joy Ann Ferguson Pratt,
yes,
was locked out and was not able to enter the court's parking lot for about 30 minutes, and a clerk called 3 times and said, that is the judge who's presiding over this case. Please let her in, because they got some word that nobody was supposed to come in or out. And she waited for 30 minutes, and trust me, she went in there as a tyrant. She nearly shut the whole court down. Her clerk had to come outside and said, that is Judge Ferguson Pratt who's presiding over this case. And so she went in there very angry, having to wait. And she said they are making a mockery of the Bahamas, and she is not seeing so much foolishness in all her days. So
yeah,
when she started the case, they then asked for a recess because he didn't have the opportunity to speak to his lawyers, so it was further delayed. And so they say she blew a fuse.
Yeah. See, that's the problem with our legal system as well. And I think that most Eddie, where Eddie is.
Eddie here. Eddie get the full scoop. Let Eddie tell you. Eddie the full scoop.
In regards to the legal system, how is it that you have this man brought him before the courts and he hasn't had a chance to speak with his attorney?
And the court has to be delayed while he speaks with his attorney, Eddie. How?
Because the reporter did mention that she couldn't get through Meeting Street. She had to go another way around, and it was only one way they were funneling the traffic into the parking lot. But there's no way the judge should have come to court under with the police escort. So how is it that the judge
could not get in?
What type of foolishness?
Right, that's what she said.
On another episode of The Bahamas Ain't a Real Place.
Oh, hey, all of that for Netflix. All of that for Netflix. Eddie, what do you have to say about the Congress meeting today? Is Eddie there? Okay, Eddie probably ain't having difficulties. Yeah, but please watch the proceedings. Please ensure that if you work in the institution, when we say that compliance is everybody's business, this means that if you see something wrong with the system, you should be talking to compliance and saying, is this correct? There's a glitch in the system. A very common glitch is that, I don't know if it's with the AS400 system, a lot of tellers have to put in 1 cent before they start. And that's been an all-time glitch from the beginning of time. And to me, that's plugging. Okay, it's only 1 cent, but it's plugging, but that means there's a glitch. And to me, if you could plug 1 cent, you could plug $20, $40, and $50. And what I was taught when I first entered the bank, and it still stands and it will always stand. Wherever there's a debit, there's a credit. Wherever there's a credit, there's a debit. Okay? So this money did not vanish. This money, this $8 billion went into other person's pockets or somebody's pockets or Alamedia's creditors for that company to start. Okay? So make sure that you understand your job description, make sure that you understand your function, make sure that you understand the system that you are using. And if you work for Royal Bank, CIBC, and the Fortune 500 companies, Commonwealth Bank, any of those, and your main system is QuickBooks, you should be blowing the whistle. Okay, but those staff members were the gatekeepers, and no matter how much you're paid, it's so many inconsistencies. I don't understand how they showed up there every day. Okay, but a lot of people need a job. A lot of people are turning a blind eye because of the money. And then a lot of people are in positions that they are not qualified for. Because I'm starting to think of another company that is operating similarly to FTX. They've been around for 20 years. And they have a lot of staff members. And those staff members show up there every single day, and they don't seem to know that something is very wrong. Okay? If you dare to tell them something wrong, they'll fight you. Okay? So please, guys, be careful. It's financial services industry. We know money is the root of all evil. So please protect yourself, and please be knowledgeable enough to identify that you are cooperating, or you are party to these crimes that are being committed every day. Okay, at least you should know that. A lot of people showing up to work every day, they don't even know. Okay, I'm sure the whole FTX staff, most of them, pieces are coming together. Oh, now I understand why this happened, why I understand something else happened. The guy said today, no records. Okay, records are supposed to be kept for how many years? And this is the Securities Commission. 5 years for the banks. How many years for the Securities Commission?
It'd be 7, right?
Right. And again, they were only open 2 or 3 years. So nothing should have been destroyed. Right? And this is a statutory requirement. And what are statutory requirements? Required by law, right?
Yes.
So,
Ms. Bullitt.
Yes, go ahead.
It seems as if there are so many different infractions that occurred. Them keeping records seems to almost be like, well, you know, if they wasn't doing A, they definitely wasn't doing C, D, and E. Because if you ain't got a CFO, now we hearing you was using QuickBooks. Come on, man, you can't make this up. You can't make this up.
Netflix, I say, but everything that we have watched on Netflix, Inside the Job, all of that made us fall off our chairs, right? So this is just another fall off your chair. It's just another fall off your chair. Go ahead, Eddie.
Hello, you can hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir, honorable member.
No issue, so I know.
Sorry, Eddie, we can't hear you.
I don't know if
breaking
it's
up?
a series. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, there is a series with a come on named American Greed. I don't know if anyone has watched that, but I foresee this being an episode on a future upcoming episode on American Greed. Because this year, Javier, when you really look at all the things that happen, and you got me right?
Yes, we could. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When you hear about all the things what being happening, and I come to find out that he allowed the Bahamian investors 24 hours or 25 hours to remove their savings and all. I mean, their funds and all that stuff.
$100 million.
And it just goes to show you that he was in collusion. And I'm sure the majority of these Bahamians investors who are, of course, they're politicians. So of course he had to make sure that they get their monies out of the platform. So
yes,
so
Eddie, that's what all the clawback is about,
Yeah.
And that's why nobody talking about it, because I really thought the Securities Commission put out a they put out a letter stating that the money was not withdrawn. It was placed to a server, a protected server, because these servers are hacked so frequently. So they put it to a protective server. So I'm very surprised that they are still showing up and this actually happened, because I said, oh, the people must just be confused.
Yeah, but somebody
what will be clawed back, that $100 million that they were allowed to withdraw.
Yeah, but somebody at the Security Commission have to lose their jobs. I can't foresee the status quo being after all of this revelation would coming out, and I would have loved for him to go to the Congress and testify to see what he was going to say, because I think I think it's kind of coincidental that, like you said, a day before he's supposed to testify, that's when they decide to file the charges. So I don't know, they
Not
trying to
only
stop.
file charges, but
Yeah,
remanded till February the 8th.
yeah, and they trying to stop. So right now he needs to be protected, because now it sounds like he may know a lot of things, or
Right, right.
he,
And I
and you see where he going tonight. He going to the one of the worst. He he's gonna
one of the
see
worst prisons in the world.
in the world. So
Right,
yeah,
right,
but like
right.
you
And
said, someone on the
his mouth is a
I
little
was
bit loose. His mouth is a little bit loose.
yeah
All those things he said on Twitter is surprising, but
yeah
I think he is
mm,
realizing that his plan has backfired, because one of the reasons he came here was because he thought that the
mm,
government would protect him. He obviously didn't do his homework, right?
right.
But
But
he was banking
we're
on,
still a we still a we still a banana republic though.
yeah,
So
right. But
it ain't
he was banking on, how corrupt, officials may be, and he was thinking that he would get away with it.
mm,
But now I am afraid for his life, because if some names are being mentioned,
Anybody
and
else?
obviously they prevented that from happening. Gone to federal prison, because they have white collar crime prisons in the United States, and black collar crimes are, murder and whatever in the United States. So he would have gone to a federal prison that has central air and a lot of facilities.
yeah.
However, our prison system is one
Well,
of the third
he and
worst
for
in
rude
the
awakening
world.
tonight.
Yeah, I don't even think we have running water.
No,
No.
a
Okay.
slob
Yeah.
bucket.
Right. So one of
It's time
Yeah.
nicely next to that.
right. So I think that backfired on him, and I'm very interested to see the turn of events right now, because I am actually afraid for him.
Yeah.
I'm actually afraid.
Yeah, because and
Eddie,
also
I still don't believe it.
yeah. But we dropped the ball too, because we didn't charge him. Now he was charged in the US. So what about the laws that were broken here? Because like I said, with the Securities Commission, they were supposed to be filing quarterly, and there's some other requirements under the various acts to report. So
Right.
what happened to these filings?
Okay.
So
And so what
obviously there were some laws that were broken here.
and what act what did we cover in chapter 3? Now you see why. What act did we cover in chapter 3?
So the
I
Dare
think
Act?
it's the
No. Look back in chapter 3.
FTR.
Sorry.
Patriot.
Yes, the U.S. Patriot Act that has that extra territorial arm, and they have everything going through the Fed. So if foreign jurisdictions do not prosecute, the U.S. can, correct?
Right.
And that's exactly why the
Yeah.
U.S. have to set it. People are saying the U.S. just wants to be all powerful and all this. I am certain he could have been charged with money laundering, wire fraud, all sorts of stuff right here, and we didn't do it. Okay, so they use that out.
But
Okay,
I'm still waiting to see. I still believe, as it relates to money laundering, I still think when they really start the investigation, I'm sure terrorism financing somewhere up in there, or maybe because like I said, this is unregulated. We don't know what type of monies might have passed through the platform to facilitate terrorist financing. And so when you see that is uncovered, that's when they really go bury him under the jail, because that day, like I said, we know money laundering was going on, because like I said, he was taking the customer funds and transferred to his own account and all of that, and doing these ill-gotten gains and transfers and all these other things. But now I still think this will be just like another situation with the bank HSBC, when they was taking money from drug lords and terrorists and all that, and facilitating that. So So I still believe, you know, when they really, this ain't the end of it. When the feds, when you see the FBI come for him, but he better start snitching. But I would have hoped that they would have, he would have worked with the feds and let them probably wear a wire and incriminate some of these politicians over here and some other people. That's what I would love to
But
see.
guess what? They let the time expire to do that, and he
Yeah.
felt safer here. And I think the Albany people were also going to protest because I know, you know, each of these gated communities, they have associations. And I remember when Vasily killed her husband and they let her out on bail, the Old Fort Bay Association said they don't agree for her to come back there. And a couple of associations around the world had her blocked. Like they had a house in Singapore, they blocked her in Singapore. I think they blocked in the UK, like 4 or 5 countries when she was let out on bail said specifically, you cannot come here even though your house is in this gated community. A part of our association laws state that you cannot come back here. So yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. Okay,
So
so
Ms. Millette,
I heard that Albany's residents were about to protest to say, why is he allowed to be there?
so Ms. Millette,
Say that?
sorry, you honestly think they're gonna have him at VDOCS? I don't think he's gonna be there.
Well, Shurenda, I know we did this little white collar police station up on next to Bethel Brothers Mortician. Are they truly gonna keep him there till February 8th? That's the only little white collar prison we have, right? That the politicians build for themselves so when they get arrested. Can they seriously keep him there till February 8th?
I mean, at this point, I think he might need to be in protective custody. I honestly doubt they'll.
From our government, though.
Find out. I mean, I think we will find out. Huh?
Where else they can keep him?
Well, I mean, that remains to be seen, but I'll investigate.
Yeah, you're on the low. This being recorded. We gotta talk.
Yeah.
But at the minimum, he had to spend at least one night in there, and then they'll say, well, okay, he's a resident, and then they'll move him to the bougie holding facility. But he like I say, he already got his bail denied, so it would look very bad for them to move him to a very special facility. Well, that should happen because, like I said, they blocked the judge up today, making sure that he was able to sneak into the court, so he wouldn't have to come to the front door. So anything is possible. So they might let him spend the night there, and then
we're being watched, Eddie, though. So they had to say that they are complying because the U.S. but all the laws have changed. Everybody is supposed to be taking money laundering seriously. And then, like I said, there are a lot of influential people who would have lost their money, okay, that could pay lawyers to make sure that he doesn't go free, okay? And so this is similar like to Bernie Madoff, right? This ain't like the Wells Fargo or what the people name who they gave jobs after they lost all the money. Morgan Stanley, those and Chase Bank. It ain't like their CEOs, okay, where some people could have gotten insurance and it wasn't like an outright loss. This is an outright loss of $8 billion. Okay, so now they saying you had $100 million and you only let Bahamians get it. And of course, who would have this type of money? If you divide that into how many people, they said 1,500. That's more than $1 million a person.
And I think 1,499 of them is politicians or peps.
Okay, or their family or close associates. A lot of them are companies.
We know 1,500 politicians. Yeah,
but a lot of them are companies that invested other people's money. Like I would say CFAL or Family Guardian, anybody in the insurance industry who would have put like pensions and stuff like that into like a fund type structure to invest. So most of those are Bahamian IBCs. Okay, but with other people's money. So a lot of companies would have suffered. And what you can imagine if CFA lost everybody's pension, think about it. And I think that, and then again, somebody asked about our back money last night. I believe they said we made $9 billion worth of VAT, right? So therefore we should not have a deficit any longer. So then why do we still have a deficit? Why are we still borrowing? Where the money is?
Because we using QuickBooks. That's why.
Would we using Eddie?
QuickBooks.
Oh, yes. In a consolidated fund.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, I had to laugh when I heard about the QuickBooks. Yeah. So they was using QuickBooks.
Yes. And that's what I told everybody.
For a multi-billion-dollar company.
Right. If you work for a Fortune 500 company and you're only just using QuickBooks to pay bills, that's your system for all your customers, blow the whistle, please. I don't know the who, because it seems like the regulators. I don't know, but blow the whistle at any event, because let's see if they're really serious about people going to jail. They took more than a month to arrest him, so let's see. We are compliance officers, right? Compliance and the CEO should be in question. I have no mention or no MLRO. We went to the Securities Commission site. In record time, their names were removed. And other than Rodney Monka, we had nobody else even mentioned in the MA.
Yeah, I got the register. I was doing some Google and snooping around. I got the MLR, the register that they had earlier this year, and I compared it with the register that was done at the end of November 2022, and you could see where they had the MLRO and then they removed them. So they have it as vacant. They have the person as vacant, but
call no name, Eddie. Call no name, Eddie.
No, I ain't calling no name. No.
Yeah, but it's surprising. Like I say, now that all our laws have changed and all of this has happened after the change of the law, again, we're being internationally watched. Will anybody be brought before the courts? What would the Bahamas do? The Bahamas would probably say, well, the US charged him and we just complied. And, that's why he went under Chapter 15, which means in many jurisdictions. So we didn't want to duplicate efforts, But again, everybody's watching. The Bahamas will comply if the US say so. We have, y'all know we have to. Okay, so let's see how this all pans out and what happens. But again, as compliance professionals, this is what you want to avoid. Okay, when you get into these institutions and these one-man bands and no board, remember you are compliance. You are supposed to be reporting to the board, who in turn will hold this person accountable, the CEO accountable. If there's no board to hold him accountable, then what's happening? Then you are the next senior person in line to hold this person accountable and tell him what he should be doing. Again, advising him. Remember, we don't make any decisions. We advise, we give them a deadline, and when they don't comply, then we blow the whistle on them. Okay, go ahead, Kendrick.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know if you remember when I asked the question several weeks ago. I think it was either last week or a week before. I see that now there is a intense fight over the properties, because that was in this morning's paper as well. How the Lennox patent, Brian Sims, senior partner, they're fighting, literally fighting to keep the properties out of the Chapter 11. Because once
possible. If you go and bankrupt on 130 companies, do you truly have anything left?
No, because you remember now, my only concern was what happens with these properties, because these are Bahamian, it's in our country. What's going to happen? They're going to be sold off, bid, auction to the highest bidder, and we don't know who the bidding process is going to be open to, whether it's international individuals or just local or whatever. And so what we're going to find is prime land is going to go into the hands more than likely of foreigners.
Yeah, but again, it what happens with a company, when they liquidate or they go bankrupt, the persons who have preferred shares are paid first, and then ordinary shares, and then creditors. So creditors, whoever gave them credit, forget about this now, because they don't have the assets to total the shortfall of the 8 billion in the first place. So I don't know how it's, who's going to get the preference here. Now, of course, I think that's why the United States fought for the case. Because of course, if it was in Bahamian courts, those judges would say, well, Bahamians are paid first. Now that it's in US courts, the US definitely would say US citizens are paid first. Then companies, I would imagine, then any other country, which means there will be nothing left. So I think that is why they were hell-bent on making sure that the case was handled by them. And because of the corruption, of course. But in a document that I received on his indictment, and again, I don't know, these things just on the internet, it may not necessarily be, this may not be a true and correct document, but as the Ray guy who's the CEO, as well as, what's the name, Eddie Ortiz, the finance committee, that very popular young
AOC.
AOC,
AOC.
But she's very, very popular. When it comes, this is all the charges of wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy to commit commodities fraud. At the bottom of this, it does say conspiracy to defraud the United States, forfeiture allegations. And this goes on to talk about he should forfeit to the United States, to this code, any and all property, real, personal, involved, said offenses, or any property traceable to such property, including but not limited to the sum of money in United States currency, representing the amount of property involved in the said offense. Okay, and it goes on to talk about what he should forfeit. Okay, and this is what it says: as a result of any act of omission of the defendant cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold or deposited with a third person, has been placed beyond the jurisdictions of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, or has commingled with other property, which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. It is the intent of the United States, pursuant to Title 21 of the Code, to seek forfeiture of that too. Okay, so I imagine that will be all the properties that he owns around the world. Okay, 130 companies, right?
And also too, I am very interested in seeing the lawyers who facilitated their association, to the political hierarchy. That's what that's what you really want to see happen.
Who do you want to see, Daddy?
Now you want to see the law firms or the lawyers who handle the sale of those
properties.
Properties, yeah, and their association to the political the politics.
Inquire them for $1 million, right? It worth 74 million. Yeah. Well, all of that you can't worry about. All of that. So it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So yeah. Good luck. Good luck. Because everybody know everybody. And it's always a roundabout way. Of course, the previous lawyers who was on the board will represent. I'm surprised they haven't put forward them to represent for free of charge right now. Who was the lawyer, right, Eddie?
Yeah. I know who's the lawyer.
Yeah, so I'm surprised they didn't volunteer already to represent. I'm very surprised. But in any
do it for free, eh?
Yeah, for free.
Yeah.
So when all these checks clears, they go straight to the lawyer, and then the lawyer pays. whomever needs to be paid. So that'll be another
I wonder,
lawsuit, right?
is he paying his legal team and FTT currency, FTT tokens too, or
Of
is it
course.
cash?
Of course. But anyway.
Because, he didn't have no hotshot lawyer on his team, representing the day,
I know.
He didn't have the Shane Gibson type of defense.
The QC
I
is
didn't
on.
see.
No QC is
No,
no King Council,
no,
sorry,
no,
KC is not, yeah.
no. He had the
Yeah,
little
but anyway,
$1,500 lawyer.
yeah, this is a very good case to pay attention to. You will learn a lot and know what you ought not to do if you are working, all of you work in the financial services sector. Okay, and if you then go for these companies, some of them are secure, but some of them are not. And again, these are the type of things that you should be questioning. Should we be using QuickBooks? There's a glitch in the system that nobody knows how to use. We report that we have 800 customers, but only 500 show up on a report, and then what systems are checking these names every night. We have a lot of companies and we do not get the good standings every year. All of these things has to stop, and they are age-old problems that have been around in institutions for many years. No longer, I say, can you turn a blind eye to these things? Please start to blow the whistle and please pay attention, okay, to the risk associated with the position that you hold. Okay? Okay, guys, very good. We are on week 7. Next week will be our last class for 2022, week 8, when we talk about STRs. And then of course, we'll have a Christmas break and a good New Year. And we'll come back for our final 2 classes in 2023, and then the final exam. Many of you have one person with their 5% on week 7. And so that is not good. There's only one person. So please, I know many persons are gonna get caught up with Christmas and shopping, and we probably already in the Christmas mood and we're supposed to be really in for this class. But in January, a lot of those organizations may not start up. They may not have meetings until February or the end of January. So I really don't want you to miss your opportunity. So please search around for any groups and go into 2023 secured with all the points. I have some homework. I'm just waiting for the cross marker. They should, for the persons who did their homework last week, you should get your grade by tomorrow. But please make sure that you all sufficient points. I'm also certain that homework, where we should be on question 4 now. Please, if you have not done your homework, try to submit that as well. And do not wait for
Miss
the
Paulette.
last. Yes.
I will send you 2 pieces tomorrow. I just trying to catch up. I decided late start, but I have 2 pieces to send you tomorrow. I have a question.
What is 2 pieces about? You 2 pieces of what?
There's
2 pieces of chicken with you sending me.
No, the essays. The essay. One that was due. I think one was due December 5th.
Yeah, but I can't send no more. That's gone. You should send that. No grade for that.
So I can't get no grade for that?
No, ma'am. The due date.
When you're done your class, I just start my second.
You send it on Monday, December 5th, or that's it. You go on to question 3, which is Monday, January 9th. Now, I don't recommend that anybody do number 4 because persons always get it wrong. And I have a person now who is crying because she didn't do her homework, but she got a very good grade on her final exam. But she was thinking that she could pass the class without passing, doing her homework, which she did. But she got 70%, and her organization only pays for A or B. And so now she is wanting to pay to resit and take a final exam again. But even if she resit and take it, she get like 94% on the first test. Will she get this time 100% to try and get a B? You can't get a B without doing your homework.
So help me
Okay, so
understand, Miss Ballard. I'm seeing
yes.
this one question set of questions from 1 to some other
On the
multiple
screen.
choices or something else. Not those. I see 2 sets of questions. The
Yeah,
ones that have due
classwork.
dates.
Yeah, this is your homework. This is what you submit. This is classwork and this is just for practice. As you go along, as we cover the chapters, we are supposed to be ending by 8. So you could have like 30 minutes to go and do your classwork. But again, only if you do not understand or you have to ask a question, then you ask it in the following class. But you don't have to submit this.
So when is class started, Miss Ballard? What date does class started?
Let me see. Right here. You don't have this in your email, Sharenda?
I can't see that.
What you gonna see? November the 1st.
I can't see.
But no, but I mean in your email.
November the 1st.
November the 1st. See, November the 1st to January 31st.
January 31st. I have an email from you.
Okay, so just look at that and make sure, look at the dates. There's a homework, there's still a homework due January 9, due January 16th.
So all the work I didn't do for those other 2 weeks in vain?
No, you needed to do that for practice. How else would you know if you understand?
I'm still not getting them great.
But you know that you understand, right? This is for practice.
Want to see a grade too?
No, this is only all of these are past. All of these are past exams.
No, I don't mean those, you know. I mean the other ones, not those. I mean
these
the other
ones
questions.
on the screen?
No, not those ones.
These are past exam questions, and the next one are past exam questions. All of them are past exam questions. That's why you have all of those
questions that but they're the ones that I cannot submit anymore. You're saying?
No, you could have never submitted them. They are for you to practice. This is what should be submitted. Question.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The same thing you do in intro, Sharenda. You've videoed before. 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Okay, so if I'm done with 1 and 2, the dates already gone for those.
Yes.
So I can't submit them anymore.
No. So Monday, January the 9th, do question 3 and submit that. Okay, because you have difficulties with question 4. Most persons don't do well on question 4.
Ms. Bullard.
Yes.
Kendrick, we were only supposed to submit 1, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just 1. Okay, and as we can see, for your Tuesday, January 24th, is the last day for your 5%. Okay, Sharenda, mute your mic for us.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody's clear on what needs to be done?
Yeah. Ms. Bullard, when is the exam again?
Okay, let's look. Let's see when this exam is.
Just so I can lock in.
Exam is on January 31st. So again, yes. Okay. Please put in your vacation days. That's the end of the month. Please put in, if they give you study leave, please, arrange it now so they will know, because primarily they don't expect persons to be off in January, but please, get your study days in and get some time off to study and unwind and relax and, feel good to be able to take this exam. Okay, so we have all our dates. Final exam on the 31st, and this final exam is 1 mandatory question with 20 points, 15 multiple choice questions, and then 4 essays. Again, we'll have a review class, and just like intro, you would prepare yourself and know which questions you are going to answer going into the exam.
So, but Ms. Black, one question.
Yeah.
How come a few years ago, is this one or ICA? Are any one of them open book tests?
Yeah, ICA used to be an open book test up until 2015. What they did is they discontinued that exam and they only have 3 essays now. So we used to have 3 essays and an exam. They discontinued the open book exam because it just didn't make sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's easier. When Miss Bullitt took ICA in 2000, I had to do the exam and the 6 essays. Okay. Any other questions?
Hey, Ms. Bullard.
Hi.
So the homework questions so I already did homework 1, right? You were saying that the other 3 questions, they're like practice questions for the exam. So we should still try and attempt those.
Yeah, but don't submit it.
Don't submit, but still try to attempt it.
Right. Make sure that you can answer them because all of these are past exam questions.
Okay.
And all of these are past exam questions.
Right. I was doing the second one, practice questions, but I didn't go back to the homework one. So the other 3 homework questions, we should still try and attempt for practice.
Yes, make sure that you can answer it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
This is chapter 7, and we are going to talk about the risk categories, okay? Methodology and the scoring system. So make sure before you leave this class, you know how to answer this question. Okay? Okay, any other questions? Any other newspaper? No? Okay, good. We had enough for FDX. Okay, so chapter 7, and again, we had 4 chapters of risk, and I want everybody to tell me how they feel about risk before we leave, because this will be our last chapter on risk. So I'll ask a question of each of you, and then you tell me how you feel. So let's start with Kendrick. Kendrick, what does recommendation 1 say?
Recommendation 1 encourages countries under the FATF to 1, assess your risk-based approach, and then identify the flaws in your system, and then systematically put controls, monitoring, and measures in place to protect the system itself.
Okay, so very good, very good. Recommendation 1, countries must assess their risks, identify their risks, and then put controls in place. What did the bomber say? We have a lot of PEPs, and we may be susceptible to corruption. What will we put in place to protect our country against all these corrupt leaders? The Corruption or the Bribery Act. Okay, that's the control we put in place. We'll make sure that PEPs are rated as high risk. We'll ensure that the board approves PEPs. Okay, they are the controls that we put in place. Okay, very good. Ashley, what is risk appetite? How do you feel about risk? Anything else you are confused about, Kendrick, before we move on to Ashley?
I think what it is with risk is that risk is like a relationship. You got to spend time with that.
Yes.
Because looking at it, just with this particular chapter and looking at the risk category, if you classify the risk, it's low, medium, and high. But then when you start looking at because I was supposed to ask the risk, what they call it, the risk matrix. I was doing some other research on that and how that applies and the risk categories and so forth. So it's all about spending time with it. I'm not completely 100% clear on everything, but I think once I begin to spend some more time with it, seeing that this is the last chapter, then I can really focus in on the last 3 that was really concentrated on it and be able to look at it more intensely.
Okay, good. And like I said, the more time you spend, the clearer it becomes. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we are walking away with the basics, right? Okay, so Ashley, tell us, there are 3 parts to risk framework. risk appetite, risk assessment, and risk rating. We're going to cover risk rating tonight. But tell us what risk appetite is.
So a risk appetite is the approach that a company wants to take on risk. They assess and analyze how much risk that their company is willing to take on, and also be, I guess, cover themselves at the same time.
Okay, and so give us an example of when you say what risk they want to take on. Are you talking about products, services, countries? Give us an example of an appetite.
Okay. Yes, for example, products, I would say. They may not want to offer products that would make them open themselves up to more susceptibility to risk. I want to say, let me think. Let's say an insurance company would probably have a cap on certain type of maybe sports cars they decide that they want to go ahead and insure.
Okay, Honda's in the Bahamas, correct?
Yes.
Why Honda's?
No, I'm not familiar with cars.
Okay, yeah, because they're most often stolen. And so a lot of insurance companies tell you that we don't do Hondas. Hondas are very popular and they're always stolen. We're not doing Hondas. Right. So they don't take on the risk of Hondas. Very good. A lot of banks say we don't take on PEPs. It's just too much corruption. We don't have an appetite for PEPs.
Yes.
And they say we don't take on high-risk countries, right? And they may say, listen, Russia is not high risk on the Basel Committee, but they are take on Russia, okay? We're not gonna do correspondent banking. We're not gonna do bearer shares. And we're not gonna offer trust services because we don't have an appetite for any of them. Scotiabank says, Royal Bank says, CIB says, we don't have an appetite for money services businesses. We don't have an appetite for gaming houses because they are too cash intensive.
Yeah, they can't be.
Right. Yeah. So they can't, Island Luck can't come open no account with Scotiabank. Cash and go can't come. Okay? So this is appetite. Okay? Very good. So Eddie, we are going on with this risk framework. Ashley told us about appetite. Tell us about assessment. What is the risk assessment? Is Eddie there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Well, to my understanding, the risk assessment is mechanisms that are used to assess, I guess, to assess the risks that is associated with a particular product.
Correct. Or service.
Or service, and this is used to determine whether or not a particular company would like to take on that particular risk. So this works in cohesion with the risk appetite. And so before, like I said, the risk appetite is what type of businesses or products they are willing to work with or would like to associate with. And so the risk assessment is just a measuring stick to assess the type of risks that is associated and taken on certain products.
Okay, so if we looked at a risk assessment, what type of risks would we see listed? Give me an example.
Okay. I think you need help with this.
All my eggs in one basket is what type of risk?
I guess that would be a type of, well, putting all your eggs in one basket would be a very high.
Concentration. I took concentrates, right? So that's concentration risk. The risk of getting fines and breaches is what type of risk? Regulatory risk.
Regulatory risk.
The risk of persons not paying their loans. Kendrick, is what type of risk?
That would be operational risk?
No, credit risk.
Oh, credit risk, yeah.
Yeah, credit risk. Okay, so all of this should be on the assessment. Okay, credit risk, liability risk, concentration risk, legal risk, regulatory risk. Okay. All right, good. Very good, Eddie. Bria, let's talk about the control library. Okay? Or before we get to the control library, let's talk about, let me look at this book. Identifying and assessing risk. What would we use in identifying risk, Bria?
And identify, you asked what we would use, like in terms of.
Okay, so risk identification, the company's exposure to risk, which requires external knowledge of the market and the company.
So you mean like the system, like the actual systems we would use?
No, we would look at the threats and the opportunities and the strengths and the weaknesses if we're trying to do a risk identification. So a SWOT analysis.
Right.
Right? And then risk treatment. This includes risk control, risk mitigation, risk avoidance, risk transfer. What do we do, or what do we use when we are transferring risk? We're going to take on this product and service, you are going to be a signatory on an account for your institution, but persons can hack into your system, or they could defraud, somebody could steal a check. You would assign that check, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we choose to transfer this risk, where would we transfer that risk to?
Insurance?
Yes, correct. Remember, indemnity insurance. Indemnity insurance on your signature, just in case you were not negligent, you followed policy and procedure. However, the hackers and scammers are smarter than us. So therefore, we get that's risk treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Gerardo, control library. Let's talk about training. How often are you required to have anti-money laundering training?
Is it a quarterly training?
No, it's annually.
Annually, apologies. Okay,
Yeah.
is an annual training. It's up to, you want me to just talk about the role in terms of the compliance or the mill road?
No, I want you to talk about the risk. What is the risk that we do not have this anti-money laundering training? Or if we don't, you say you work in the surveillance department. If a new officer comes in and you say, you used to be an officer before, right? Okay, you know what to do. What is the risk? What will happen with that officer?
Well, I mean, obviously, if the person isn't exposed to, the constant training, then you put not only that individual, but also the company at a liability because they're not, upkeeping with the best standards or best practices.
Correct.
They have to be duly informed. Like you said, annually, it's up to, I guess, the compliance officer or the money laundering reporting officer, or in tandem with continuous training.
Correct.
Or systematic training, correct?
Yeah. So annually, there must be AML training.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
There must always be training specific to your role.
Yes, ma'am.
And so one day I'm going to train you, or once per month, I'm going to train you on surveillance. The next month, I'm going to train you on, I guess, the parking or who should enter the building. 1 month, we will be checking the swipe cards. You know, so there are various aspects that while that new officer may have come in with some training, they may not be to your standard or the company's policies. So you have to ensure that he understands this is central bank's policy or central bank standard that you must follow. Okay? So you want to ensure in your role, in your risk control library, you have training, and there's a plan that says in January, we are going to do swipe cards. In February, we are going to have a training on signatures. In March, we're going to have a training on surveillance, right? In April, we can check the cameras, you know, all these difference in you know, throughout the year. So there should be a control on how it's going to be carried out. There should be a plan and there should be a schedule. Okay?
Miss Bullet, you know, we do that now in our security unit, you know.
Right, I know.
Like we just literally just completed an active shooter kind of manual with respect to the bank and if something should happen, because you know we tend to think because we live in the Bahamas those things don't happen, but you know, being you know, retroactive, you know, just kind of just forward thinking, you know, to try to institute these things as opposed to waiting until it happens and then, you know, a person say, well, y'all in charge of security, why y'all ain't never did this before?
Correct. And when it happens, nobody knows what to do. So y'all should have like a training of the business continuity plan. If the building burns down, what do we do? How do we get the people of the building? If there's, like you say, an active shooter. So a lot of people in that department may say, boy, this is a waste of time. They just always doing foolishness, training us with all these things. It don't make no sense. No, again, you want people to be engaged and informed to know that training is a statutory requirement. Okay? Wherever you work in the financial services sector, all the departments, training is required. Okay? And it's specifically anti-money laundering training. With any department, facilities, wherever, whatever is, you know, a function of your job, you should be trained. Are y'all training on the business continuity plan?
Yes, ma'am, most definitely. We just did that for our quarterly review.
Okay, and y'all having fire drills, and then of course, a very new thing that we would have had to add to our business continuity plan that has never been there before. Anybody knows? Nobody knows? The pandemic.
Oh yeah,
right?
True.
So in 2019, we wouldn't attest for a pandemic. In 2022, you should be, right, Gerardo? Your plan should have been updated to include pandemics. Was it?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, good. And then all of you, Kendrick, all of you all should not only have the fire drill and all these other things, but what happens in a pandemic.
Ms. Bullock.
Get a lot of practice.
Yeah. Ms. Bullock, just this week, it was on Friday, I heard the alarm going off. I grabbed my stuff and I was outside the building. Fire alarm, it went off. My boss was looking for me. I'm like, you looking for me? I go, the building. As soon as
Correct. This is 2022. You can't take it lightly anymore. And from 2011, if you speak to the people, they tell you that they sat there when the police was coming to the building because it was always a false alarm. But that day, that one day, it wasn't false. Okay, and we as Bahamians, we have a Doberman Pinscher or a Rottweiler outside or pit bull, and we had our dog barking. You know what we do? Get up and say, "Shut up, dog! Stop barking." We don't go check to see if it's a robber. We don't check the cameras. We don't do anything. So we have to move away from these things. Okay, we have these equipment to warn us, but we don't take it seriously. Okay, Gerardo, you wanted to say something else?
Yeah, I wanted to chime in, Ms. Bullet, and just say, with respect to central bank, is going to be groundbreaking because, like, for the first time in this country, obviously, central bank would have came about in 1974, and we relied heavily on the police securing, the premises, any intrusion, so on, etc. But now we're now moving forward now with introducing in our security unit. Now I don't know how long I'll be a part of it because obviously I'm taking this course and I'm looking forward to sojourning. But in the near future, central bank will be bringing about where their security officers will be trained and they will be carrying firearms because in the wider Western Caribbean, right, everybody is carrying firearms relative to their central bank. And the Bahamas is the only country that is not armed.
Oh, wow.
So right now, the powers that be who were running the security unit in central bank, just through the bank attorneys is drafting out an act, that has to go to the AG's office for, just to be looked at and to be ratified and then short order, central bank officers you'll see will be carrying firearms.
Okay, very good, very good. And let me tell you what else to do to be forward thinking. Y'all are moving across from the embassy, okay? There's going to be a particular security clearance that is required. And make sure you'll look into that before you write this whole thing and have to change it. What right next door? Headquarters, police headquarters, and U.S. Embassy. So yeah, look at that because I'm certain y'all are gonna need some different types of clearances, and there are gonna be some rules. Okay, so just look into that. Okay, guys, good, very good. So we understand what could possibly be in a controlled library. How often do we scan the PEP list? How often do we train? How often do we escalate? Or what is our exit process? Okay, so risk rating. We are going to cover risk rating right now. So that will close out our chapters on risk. And of course, we know the framework is threefold. Starts with recommendation 1, and then it moves to risk appetite, risk assessment, and then now risk rating, okay? So hopefully most of you would have read chapter 7. I have a visual just so you would understand. When we looked at the Basel Committee, I hope that most of you remember methodology is very important. And let me just see if I can pull it up, just so I can tie all this in so it won't confuse too much. Okay, so Basel Committee. Okay. This is the Basel Committee. Of course, we always look at the map. Where is it? This is the index, which shows all the country ratings. Everybody should be familiar with this map by now. And then, of course, it's not only the Basel Committee, but also Transparency International that gives the country rating, and Transparency International gives the CPI index, which is the Corruption Perception Index. Okay? So we move down. This is a legend. And of course, no country is going to want to be risk rated high risk because they are going to be subjected to enhanced due diligence. And so therefore, the Basel Committee must explain how they are going to risk rate countries. And this is considered their methodology. Okay, we remember all of that, right? Domain 1, quality of the framework. We remember the 22 deficient recommendations that we fixed, correct? Okay, that's 35%. If those weren't, we wanted to be 40 or 40, but of course, I don't even know what happened to the rating. Anybody heard what happened? Or FTX just overpowered that? Next for our last class, I want you all to come next week and tell me, I think it was supposed to be in December sometime. Anybody know? Eddie, do you know?
That's the rating that we were supposed to be rated on. At
yeah,
the end
40 of 40 recommendations for the compliance.
Yeah, we can throw that
happen.
That ain't happening no more. You throw that.
Yeah, but I mean, as the date passed, y'all come back next week.
Yeah, that was the end of November, Miss Bullet. They had
so
that.
what was the outcome?
There is no outcome.
No, we passed, I believe, based on the recommendation that what I read, the recommendation they received from the CTAF. I think one of the two outstanding recommendations they recommended that we be deemed compliant with that. I think it's not virtual assets business, it's the other one that deals with nonprofits.
Okay.
I think
come back next week and tell us. Come back next week and tell us exactly what happened. Okay.
But FTX has a need overpowered us, so who knows? They may change their mind.
Yes, no FTX news next week. We talking about did we get the 40 or the 40 rating and why not? Okay, good. So methodology. And so when a question asks you, what is the methodology? This is the methodology because of course, countries will argue. Like we saw Haiti. Well, I mean, not Haiti, but other countries will argue. Haiti's government, I'm sure if they got things together, they would argue our rating is 8 point something. We need that fixed. Let's see if Turks and Caicos did any fixing, you know, because they are on they were on the blacklist right up there with Afghanistan. I don't know where Turks and Caicos is. Anybody can tell me?
To your right. To the bottom.
To my right?
No, you're going down too far. Okay. Check.
What it is?
Come up.
Up.
Too far. Thank you.
Right there?
So you gotta come up towards us, the bottom of us. Okay. Go up a little bit more. Go to your right. That should be us right there. They even got them on the map.
They ain't have them on the map?
I don't see it.
I don't see it. When you find us, they're right to the bottom of us.
Let me see something. In the scene in alphabet. Let me try and put this in alphabet. Nope. Y'all ain't on there. These people map. Okay. Y'all ain't on these people map. Okay. Yeah, but again, our sister country, and they don't even have a central bank. And so I see a lot of ads in the papers where they are calling for persons to come and start a set of project work to put the laws in place to, you know, become compliant with some of the recommendations. But again, I believe because they are the British colony, they still have a premier. They don't want to comply to whatever the UK need to do through the back door. I believe that what they use in Turks and Caicos for. So of course we see, I think they are blacklisted with, you know, Afghanistan and the rest of them. But again, I want you to understand methodology. Okay, when we talk about risk, this is methodology, right? So back to our risk rating, and this is just an old form. It's not up to date. But this is how a risk rating would look if they used a numerical one. Just an Excel sheet. And what happens, there are so many deficiencies. I went to a few seminars where across the board, the regulator says KYC information is gravely deficient. And so are risk ratings, gravely deficient. So we asked them for a template. Y'all are Fortune 500 companies and y'all asking us for a template. Y'all go pay to have one created, okay? So one of the issues is this is an Excel sheet. So formulas fall out of place. You see this formula? Then we have, you see this formula here? Right. Nobody know if something go wrong with that formula, if one of these E9 missing, if it can give the right rating. And so that's one of the problems. Then the next problem is that we have 5 people in the department that doing a risk rating. And so we sending this around in Excel, and there's no end user computing. Okay, and they pick up microbes and the formula falls apart and all the information comes out of it, right? If you look at it, this form was used back in 2020. And you look at the bottom of the form, it says June 2016. So that means that was the creation date. This form normally belongs to the compliance department, but compliance, the account opening department will, complete it. So what the compliance department should do is that every year, the Basel Committee updates their rating. They should go and check it. Because of course, we know when we were looking last year, the Bahamas was at 6 point something. This year we are 5.93, right? So that means that the Bahamas did some work to their national risk assessment to get a lower rating. But again, nobody checks. So I can tell you, if I go right back to that same institution that I was audited, they still using the same old version, right? And what happens is each year, these company ratings change, okay? And so the methodology for your internal form should be, where do you get your information from? And so you should be able to explain. I get this from the Basel Committee or Transparency International, okay? That would be a methodology. And my information for nationality, domicile, professional sector, business activity, country of work, all of that come from the Basel Committee, okay? Now, even though this is a document that is held by compliance officers normally don't have a CPA. If they do, they can sign off on the scoring. This is another problem, that the scoring was normally wrong. If you look at this score, you could get a 200 score on this. So to me, this never really made sense. This should be out of 100 because the legend says if you got between 20 and 30 points, 0 and 30 points, you were low risk. If you got between 31 and 60 points, you were medium. And anything over 60 would have been high risk, right? So to me, it's really easy to get over 60 because let's just use a high risk country. If you, from Afghanistan, you already get 10 out of 10. If you from, if the second person on the account, if you lived in Afghanistan, you get 20 out of 20, right? And then if your nationality, Afghanistan, you don't have 40 points. So this has about 50 and 60 in different categories. And that's what the question asks you. What are the categories that you would use on a risk rating? Nationality, domicile, professional sector, business activity, country of work, type of account, special risk, operational risk, transactional activity, met with the beneficial owner or not. And of course, the central bank says, if you did not meet with the beneficial owner, you should automatically get 20 points here. So you see this form ain't even working. My little drop down box ain't even coming up. So that means you would automatically get 20 points. So of course you looking at high risk, okay? So methodology means where do you get your information from? And along with all these formulas should be information that you would have gotten from different places in the internet, but you need to say, I got this rating from Transparency. I got the CPI index from Transparency. I got how do I work out my transactional activity? Because you really want to be able to explain your form and understand your form to make sure it works. Now, we don't share this information with the customer, but as compliance professionals, you should make sure that it works. And like I said, you have to send this form to the regulator as a part of your risk framework and prove to, explain it to them, which is the methodology, and prove to them that you're risk rating these customers properly, right? So again, a lot of persons, they may have been born, let's use a lower risk country. Let's say they were born in Austria. So Austria, no points. And they are domiciled in the Bahamas, right? And so again, when FACA and CRS came out, many persons applied for citizenship in countries like the UAE, Thailand, and the Bahamas because they don't have any income taxes. And so therefore, where were they domiciled? In Bahamas. And so as you can see, that doesn't give you any points as well. So most customers and salespeople, when they fill out these forms, they go through these, look at countries that will give a lower rating, and they advise their customers, hey, go get citizenship in the Bahamas because it's cheaper to pay $750,000 and buy a house than to pay 35% of your $10 million each year to your government. Okay? Then when you come into your financial institution, you're going to be risk rated as low, and you're not going to be subjected to enhanced due diligence. Okay? Because as you can see now, I already put in the nationality, I already put in the domicile. But this just says, oh, okay, if this is more than one client, I need to put nationality here. Let's go back up. Yeah, but it's still giving 0, so it's fine. When I get down to professional sector, let's say he's an athlete. Okay, athlete gives no points. But let's see, what would be a high risk? I think an attorney, or this must be working. Yeah, see, the formula must not be in there. It is, but I don't know why it's not working, but some of these professions become high risk. Yeah. Ambassador, of course, should be high risk. Yeah, so it's not working. Yeah, because that should give you 30 already, right? And then business activity and country of work. Is the holder the same as the client? That means, is this person a power of attorney? Is this a managed company? Or is this the actual beneficial owner? Okay. On this form, also the type of account, and each one of these types should give a certain rating here as well. Then these two spaces, they had put on the form because they wanted to be able to select that this person had operational risk or special risk to automatically make this person high risk. Because this could have meant that this person was domiciled in the Bahamas, was a Bahamian, and would have come out overall low risk, but these two sections can automatically give you 50 points. Or the PEP status should automatically give you 80 points, right? So it don't matter where you came from. The other categories didn't matter. You would automatically get 80 points. Okay, and then initial deposit, future deposits, third, total assets under management expected. And then again, the central bank, and this is where a lot of persons get confused. The regulation tells you that if you did not meet the client, that category itself you should get the most points. So we never met the clients. We had external asset managers that sat around the world in the trust company, right? So we had people sitting in Switzerland meeting our clients, people sitting in Mexico meeting our clients on our behalf. And then they would email and FedEx the information to us. So that meant they automatically got 20 points there. And so do you see how you can easily become high risk?
Yeah, I see.
You all there?
You don't take much.
Hello, you all there? Hello.
Yeah, I am.
Why you all sleeping? You only know what Miss Bullet talking about.
Miss Bullard.
You all know what Miss Bullet talking about, or you all?
Miss Bullard, the thing is
Sorry?
I'm looking at it, right?
Uh-huh.
And you said your profession, right? Because I'm trying to see
Yeah, professional sector, uh-huh. And see all the different types. Everything is there.
Okay.
So there's a BSA manual. It's a manual out of, where should I say? Let me show you. It's a manual out of the United States that risk rates professions. So then it will tell you if that profession is high, medium, or low.
That would be referencing like how they have in the book a casino or.
Correct. And
okay.
so that is where you would get the rating for those various professions. This is a BSA AML manual. I don't know if any of you work with a risk rating and would say y'all get it elsewhere, but from this manual, and it's again a regulator, just like the Basel Committee, and they give you different professions. And what we do is just we copy their rating and we put it into our forms. So again, here it is. It tells us all of these products or services, customers, types of accounts or types of products or services which are considered high, medium, or low. So again, we don't risk rate, products and services. You have to say, where do I get the information from? And this is a part of our methodology. And then this tells you, what should I say? Yeah, the different professions, whether they are high, medium, or low. Okay, there we go. See, you see, high accountants, tax preparers, adult bookstores and massage parlors, antique dealers, attorneys, auctioneers. And so we would say we rely on the BSA manual to give us risk ratings on various professions. And this is what we add into our professional sector. We copy and paste that, and here it is. And then we say whether it's high, medium, or low.
Okay.
So all of these.
But how?
How what? Go ahead, tell us.
No, I was wondering what is accepted and what isn't acceptable in regards to like how you just, that's a BSA.
You tell me what is acceptable. What is in your, say the right words, not acceptable. What is in your risk appetite is what is acceptable.
Yeah, because I know the FATF is everything about recommendation and they give you certain guidelines, but anyway.
What you mean? No, okay, tell me this. And again, you have to decide your risk appetite. So of course, okay, let me give you, and I think I told you this story before. Pornography is against the law in the Bahamas, okay? But somebody argued, we stopped issuing bearer shares, but we could still open up bearer share accounts. So when that person brings in their company, if it's registered in the Bahamas, you can't open it if it's a bearer share. It shouldn't be a bearer share account. That's not a legitimate account. However, if they say, we come from, let me see, who's still doing it? St. Kitts or the Grenadines, their laws still offer bearer share. So we can open up an account that's incorporated in St. Kitts in the Bahamas that has a bearer share account. And so the argument was that pornography is against our law, but it's not against the United States law. So if they are incorporated in the United States and they want to come to the Bahamas and open up an account, then it's allowed. Okay? And so upon review of this same company, we found that we had an account that when we KYC got his documentation on how he was making this $5 million a month, he provided the IT platform for Pornhub. And so, of course, I went through, approving the account or what have you. Yeah, that's no. They said, but pornography is against the law environment. I said, yes, it is, but he's not doing the pornography. He is providing the technology system for Pornhub. And they say, oh no, Miss Bullet, you have to close out that account. I say, why? We make $10,000 a month from this client. Why would we close this out? Miss Bullet, you ain't ashamed. And then I said, well, anyway, take it to the board. It's a high risk account. And so I had to stand up and give a presentation and explain to them that there's a Microsoft platform and this type of this, and this is what they do and whatever. They are not the actors. They provide this platform for other companies, including the Pornhub. Oh, that's outside of our risk appetite, Ms. Bullet. You should know better than that. I say, then the people start to say, if I go to church and stuff like that, because I thought that was wrong with it. I said, yeah, we can leave it as high risk, but I don't think this man, you know what I mean? So the board voted and we kept the account open, but they used to give me dirty looks all the time. And then the woman who was the choir director, when I would send her for the file, she'd say she thought she ain't touching that file. I don't know why. And every time they gave up, she used to be a big problem. Okay, so that's what you're asking, Kendrick. Was it technology and appetite? Yes, it was. When you get to know your customer, if your customer provides a platform for 50 customers and one is pouring up, would you close them out? Tell me. I don't know. You all tell me.
I'm gonna let Eddie answer that one.
Eddie, you closing them out? Or you said you praying for Miss Bullet too? Eddie, go ahead. Bria, go ahead, Bria.
No, I agree with you. I mean, the company isn't even based in the Bahamas.
No.
So if they want to have an account here, I mean, I don't see why not. They ain't actually operating here.
No.
So I don't see where.
It was a technology company. What we had to do is right. Our job was
not the actors.
Yeah, we were supposed to substantiate how they making $5 million a month. And they say, well, our largest customer. I said, oh yes, I definitely need that contract. When I say Pornhub, the people say, oh, close them out. I say, why? You know, so right. So Kendrick, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, you put them again. We go to, like, people just assume Russia is high risk. Russia is not high risk. Okay? But before, I mean, Russia even now sanctioned and Russia in high risk. And where we saw it, where Russia is, up here, right there. You see Russia? Score lower than ours. Wait, where it is?
Yeah, I see it, but from
right, it's lower than ours.
Right on, it's going up.
But again, like I said, you could be more stringent than the regulator. You can't be less stringent. And so Royal Bank said, we don't have an appetite for communist countries. And I said, but China is a communist country. Okay, we don't have an appetite for Russia. Yeah, that's how they had to do it. Because if you say, and again, this is a common problem. Whatever's in your risk appetite, when the auditors come, they are going to check it. Whichever in your policy and procedure, they are going to track it. And so therefore, if you say you don't have an appetite for communist countries, you can't have Russia or Chinese. And of course, we have 1 million Chinese accounts, right? So you have to be specific because we got an audit note for that. You have to say, I don't have an appetite for Russia. You don't have to say why. Okay, remember, as compliance, we never have to give an answer. The other day I was doing a private placement, and the trading platform is Von Tobel, and Von Tobel have their own compliance department. And the people who were doing this was before Russia got sanctioned. They were Russian oligarchs, right? They were in the Russian government. And I put through I approved the private placement because we had an appetite for Russia. I put it through, and Von Tobel came back and said, we cannot put this placement in. I said, why? They said, we have no answer. So I said, the customer is on our backs or whatever. And so they said, well, we don't have an answer. So I said, okay, this is compliance. Can compliance speak to compliance? And so they say, we'll send an email and let them know that you are not the salesperson or a representative, that you are actually the compliance officer and you want to speak directly to the compliance. Because remember now, compliance doesn't speak to customers. And even though we were doing it on behalf of a customer in our bank, we are a customer to Von Tobel. And so they called me a week later and they said, Ms. Bullitt, you work in compliance and we work in compliance. And you know how it is. I said, so what do I tell the customer? They say, whatever you want. Whatever terminology you all use for your customers. I said, okay, so from compliance to compliance, can you tell me what's the reason? So they say, I'm sure you checked World Check. I said, yes, I did. I don't see any hits. They say, so you all have appetite for Russia? I said, yes, we do. They say, we don't. We don't care for you to disclose that. So I had to tell the salesperson, again, who was working on commission, who was going to get a big commission from this, we simply couldn't do it. And all the client wants an answer and they want it in writing, and this client has $11 million on one account and they're going to pull all there if you don't give them an answer. I said, okay. I send it regular Bahamian post. I go walk it down to the post office and drop it in the mail.
Slow mail.
Oh, wait for it. And then of course just get reported and all sorts of stuff. Okay? So who do you depend on? We depend on the BSA manual to risk rate professions for us. And again, these manuals are updated each year. And so this is where we get our information, because of course, we ain't pulling a risk rating out our head, right? We ain't using judgment. Make it make sense, where you get your information from. That is what is considered the methodology. Okay, is methodology clear?
For me, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again,
Ms. Bullitt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry I missed the question. I stepped away briefly. Okay. In relation to the compliance check, other than, I know LexisNexis does the World Check thing, what other companies offer that?
Okay, well, World Check is a separate company from LexisNexis, right? So you could get one check from World Check, one check from LexisNexis. And there are all kinds of little companies done pop up, but World Check is under Thomson Reuters, and they are the most popular and most common. They've been around for the longest, and so they've tweaked their systems to what bankers or people in the financial services sector need. So they are the better, they have more information than most. And then remember, I showed you all OFAC, where we go and check for the sanctions.
Yeah, OFAC, yeah. I was just on that yesterday. I was looking up. Just trying to find some free tools we could use as opposed to, I know these stuff cost money.
Ain't nothing free. Every month you just pay, I think you pay probably $1,900, depending on what type of screening you want. So if you want sanction screening, it's more. They actually have a system that checks the hits, because, and this is what I want y'all to do in preparation for STRs next week. I want y'all to go into your system and check to see into your organizations and see what scanning mechanisms are y'all using. Like Is the system scanning the names every night? Because again, tonight, Miss Bullet teaching this program. The pandemic come and I can't feed my children. I gotta go do some corruption. And they hiding me now. I would SPF. They hide me. They ain't dragging me before the court. So y'all ain't even know Miss Bullet teaching this class from jail. Right? And so again, will World Check tell you all that the next morning that Miss Bullet has been arrested? Are you all looking at the court?
Also to the World Check, they also screen for adverse media as well too, right? Adverse
media, PEP, sanctions, they have all sorts of tools. You pay for everything to be turned off. So you could go in and get the basic, and then it's 10 different features there. But I want you to find out, what does your organization do? How are you protected? Okay, are they scanning every night? Are they scanning names as well as transactions, or only transactions? Okay, and is there a report that spits out the next day that tells you Miss Bullet has been arrested? Okay, so you could come in and re-risk rate Miss Bullet, because when Miss Bullet opened this account, she was just a lecturer. Now something happened, a material change occurred, and that's what the regulator always asks for. I want you to risk rate these clients, high, medium, or low. However, if there's a material change before the review date, then you must alert the regulator. So you could say that Ms. Bullet was low risk, but now she's been arrested and we are going to keep her account open. So she is now high risk, and she will be then reviewed every year. If she was medium risk, every 2 years. If she was low risk, every 3 years. Okay? When Brave Davis, the son-in-law, opened the account, he was not married to Pep's daughter. So he was low risk. After he got married, but we didn't do it till the 3-year check. And anything happened in the last 3 years? Yes, I got married to the opposition leader's daughter. Oh, we had to risk rate him as high risk to enhance due diligence on him. We used to charge $250 for low and medium accounts, and we charge $1,500. So of course he called us right away. Why was there a $1,500 debit from my account? Oh, it's an enhanced due diligence check, cost, fee. Is there any way for me to avoid it? No.
Don't marry a Pep's daughter.
Don't marry a Pep. You'll save $1,500. Yeah. Okay, so that's how the risk rating works. Is it clear? And some institutions, because the regulators come in and they say the scoring always wrong, this form being emailed around, this in Excel, all of these issues. Some organizations have gone to like the data way. So what they say is, if they list all the high risk countries from the Basel Committee, and they say we have 5 categories. If you have 2 yeses or 3 yeses and 2 no's, then you're high risk. If you have 2 no's, or if you have 3 no's and 2 yeses, then you're low risk. So they have those 2. So you can do it in data or numeric. But that company had just gotten written up so many times. They had sent it out to the CPA, but again, it becomes a very expensive process because it's in Excel. So I don't know if there's a system now that, you know, can formulate it without the microbes and all losing the formulas. I would say you just have to have a CPA check it, you know. And what central bank does now is when they come in and they say, we see some deficiencies in your risk rating. And we say, oh, can you tell us? They say, no, you can pay Deloitte or KPMG to assess it and write us a report. We go to Deloitte say, oh yes, we can do that, $70,000. Just to check this risk rating form and confirm to a central bank that it's not deficient. Or when you send in your framework, they send you back a bill because They have to check all these things. Yeah. Okay. The other thing too, they say, we see some gaps in your anti-money laundering directive. I said, yes, you can tell us which gaps. No, pay KPMG to do an assessment. Again, another $60,000 to compare the law to or the central bank guideline, the R guideline, and say where there was a deficiency. But if they send us back a 40-page document, they get their $60,000 back. Because we're saying that have to be a waste of time and money, but just a bank, $1 billion bank. So that's the type of prices they pay. Okay, so a lot of CPAs or a lot of lawyers or compliance officers, you know, have now started their own, you know, outsourcing business. And if you could get these type of contracts, you end up making a lot of money. You know, if you could get one client, $1 million client, you could make a lot of money. Or if you could get one institution that you say, man, Deloitte charging 70,000, I could do this for 60. But again, you need to be registered with the regulators. In Switzerland, there used to be a lot of banks and trusts, and the regulators simply couldn't handle all of the reviews that needed to be done or the audits. And so they have a lot of auditing committees and outsourced committees that do it on behalf of the regulator. And I see that the Securities Commission has started the same thing. They have a lot of, I guess they went to BICA, which is the Association for Accountants, and they have now registered with the Securities Commission. And so they don't necessarily come out to you. They send one of these independent, you know, the smaller law firms or the smaller, accounting firms to come out and write a report to them, like check your policies, check your procedures, check your risk rating and everything, and confirm to them that is indeed, you know, adequate. Okay. Any questions about risk rating? Now we know how to, you know, to answer that question.
So, Ms. Bullitt, let me start talking about risk rating just to kind of repeat back what I think I gathered tonight. It basically deals with methodology, which looks at a person's nationality, their domicile, the professional sector that they're in, country of work, whether they have, the particular individual has the power of attorney, what type of account, and whether or not you met with the beneficial owner, along with what is the current or the projected, what do they say, the projected
transactional activity.
Transactional activity, whether it's cash, whether it's, what is the volume?
Right.
Okay, so that, and what will be the future aspects of what is their baseline of what they'll be doing on a monthly basis.
Right, right. Because again, remember now on the account opening form, it will ask you, there are some thresholds. How much money are you going to deposit every month? How much money are you going to withdraw? What's the frequency? Okay. So if you say I work for government or I get paid once per month, but I'm going to withdraw and deposit every week, then we need to ask you, which you could be withdrawing and deposited every week, right? How, where will this money come from? So you want to corroborate the information on the KYC documents to make sure that it makes sense. Okay? I can deposit $20 million from where?
Driving for Domino's.
Oh, okay, no, we can't open this account. Okay, Ashley, you want a question? You have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what about persons that have to file taxes, I guess? Would that be also?
So there is a form for taxes. When you open an account, a part of your KYC package, there's a FACA form, which could be the W8, the W9, and then there's a CRS form. Remember we looked at that for taxes?
Yes.
And so based on what you put on those forms, that's how you file your taxes. So
what if it's not a US based tax? What if it's like another country?
So then you fill out CRS.
Okay. Okay.
But even if it is another country, everybody fills out the FACA form to say I am not US and you sign, because the US wants you to be able, they want to subpoena that form.
Okay.
Right, to prove that that you have no US indicia, so they make everybody sign. I have no US indicia, meaning I don't have a US address, I don't have a US driver's license, I don't have none of this. Yeah, and they signed. That's what that form says.
So, and then another question was like, okay, you know how you say transactional, and how much your monthly expected deposits and withdrawals is, or what have you. So so what if, just thinking now, like what if, say I open up my one account at Scotiabank, and then I go with my job letter, and then I go to, let's say, First Caribbean, and I open up another account with my job letter saying that my money is coming to this account. Like, banks can't keep track of that, I guess, to say if it's suspicious, to be suspicious of any money laundering. You know what I mean?
Correct. Correct. So we can only mitigate risk.
Yeah.
We can't eliminate it.
Okay.
So this is like a best efforts.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a best efforts type of thing. And then again, if you're saying job, yeah, account officer should be able to say, well, Royal Bank don't send a messenger to deposit your salary, but what's going on here?
Right.
You know what I mean? So there should be, when you do a review, remember you either risk rated high, medium, or low. What you are supposed to do as an account officer is go into your system and print out or save to a drive all the transactions for that 3 years, that 2 years, or that 1 year. And you are supposed to go through them and look for anything unusual. And you should say, wait a minute, Miss Bullet, wait for government. Where's this over-the-counter transaction coming through every month? You know, so a lot of the review is post. You don't catch it right then. Right?
They do ask like,
right. So you can say, Miss Bullet, you wait for government, but somebody's walking the bank and making a deposit. What's going on here? Right. You know, so that's when during the review period is that's why it's important to know your customer, have proper documentation, and then do those reviews on time, so you could pick up, you know, patterns and differences. And then again, metrics are important. If you know, whoever your target market is, it's like Scotiabank is Atlantis, right? And so you should have like particular departments. This person, all these people work in one department. Let me have their accounts. Okay. Or something in common, so you'd be able to say, well, wait, because I deal with offshore countries, and so, you know, I could pick up Chinese when I know Chinese don't do a certain thing, or, you know, I can see when they go off pattern. Okay. Yeah.
So sorry, one more question. So like, say I wanted to, if I have an account, right? Like that my regular paycheck comes to, and then you have like some people have like a savings attached, like one with the card, and then one with like a savings not attached to the card. And say they want to transfer back and forth or whatever from their own accounts. Is that also considered? If you see a lot of activity on that, that shouldn't, I guess, be a red flag to you if it's just your money or the person's money going back and forth.
See, it's no one size fits all approach. Okay.
I was wondering that because when they ask, like, okay, monthly deposit, does it also include, when you say deposit, I'm thinking over the counter deposit or ABM deposit, cash coming into the account. But no. Does it include?
See, there's no one size fits all approach. Okay. It's a KYC. Okay. Know your customer. That's the only way for you to determine something suspicious. I know Miss Bullet works for government, but every week a deposit coming through? No, something wrong. Or I see over the counter money coming through, like from where? Royal Banking and walking into Scotia and depositing Miss Bullet check. Right. They sending that online. So it's stuff like that you'll be able to pick up. Okay. You know, or I had a group of contractors There's one contractor. Like I know they coming in on Friday. I know that they'll be cashing 10 of the workers check. I know the workers outside waiting, like stuff like that. You know, you look for commonalities in your customers. So try always to get the same industry, the same country, the same employer, like that. So you will notice unusual stuff. But if you have one person from Atlanta, one contractor, one something, it's very hard to determine what is suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I used to say, well, how are these government employees? When I see a government employee in the bank, the government employees come in from the 26th to the 1st or 2nd. If I see a government employee in the quasi government in the bank on the 12th, come here, what you doing in here? You don't get no money. What you need? You need a letter A. Because you know that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And on the 15th, you expect BTC and the Securities Commission and Bahamas mortgage people, you know what I mean? Like that. But you don't expect nobody from the Treasury in there on the 15th. Like it's certain things, you know, after, you know, people easily develop patterns. You know?
Yes, okay.
Yeah, and you know the chronic borrowers, and you know the people really they're very predictable. If you work in branch. So if you organize, if you have some data like age and professional sector and stuff, you organize your customers like that, all that to make your life easier. If you have metrics in place where you say, I am responsible for 100 clients, 40 are high, 30 are medium, 20 are low, all of that helps. The organization, the structure helps. So when you look at your portfolio, you will pick up, you know, you will see suspicious things and whatever, because we was categorizing the same technology place, you know, let's put all the techs together. Let's put all the construction workers together. Let's put all the bankers and lawyers together. Then this person, well, every other tech company that we have is only make $200,000 or $300,000. This man making $5 million a month, like, so that stood out. So then I said, come, bring us pull this file. What are you doing? Where are you getting this money from? Right? And as I dig, then I saw, pawn up. Oh, yeah, he can make that. You see what I mean? Yes, so that helps. All of that helps. But we don't take time. A lot of us just work in chaos and go around the mulberry bush all day long. And we give quantity time, not quality time. Okay, so yeah, so if you organize yourself, all of that should make it easier to pick out the outliers. Yeah, okay. Any other questions on risk rating? So apart from that form, you want to have a policy, okay, with the form attached, so everybody will be using one form. And again, the date at the bottom. This version 216, each form that you have should have an expiry date on it, okay? And this has to be updated every year because the Basel Committee, there's update every year, okay? And remember, like I told you, we was doing business with Puerto Rico. Their CPI index dropped because of Hurricane Maria. We couldn't continue on doing business with Puerto Rico. We could get a fine because our policy said we don't do business with countries that have a CPI index less than 30, right? Liberia, no, Libya. Was it Libya? Where was Lebanon? When they had that explosion, they spoke out against Israel. Donald Trump and Netanyahu are bosom buddies. He put sanctions out on Liberia right away. Again, like I say, my client lived in Spanish Lucha, but had a passport from Liberia. All his stuff stopped. Okay? So we have to put him as high risk. Okay? Or again, they always come after the small man. You know, we get sanctions and fines, and the regulators was coming in and say, between March and August of 2020, do you know that there was a sanction on Liberia and you processed these 5 transactions? I said, really? No, I didn't know. Then you get right up for saying you don't know. Okay, so you have to pay attention. You have to know your customers. You have to know the countries that you deal with. Okay, so we want to make sure that the forms are kept up to date and the methodologies are known and kept up to date. You have to write a policy, okay, explaining exactly which, you know, the parts on the form, what they mean, which category. You could put where you get the information from, who has responsibility, how the ratings work, okay, and you have to make sure it makes sense. Okay, because all of this is sent to the regulator for approval. Okay, are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we know how to answer this question. What are the risk categories, Kendrick? You say yes, the rest of them sleep.
Risk categories would be either low, medium if you're using the US system.
No. That should be considered on the risk rating form then.
Oh.
Yeah. What categories on the form?
On the form itself, it would be the nationality.
Yep.
It would be the domicile and all of the other future projected transactions, the volume, type of account, whether you met with the beneficial owner, if somebody's coming in, do they have power of attorney, what country of work they're in. And I think I covered all of it.
Okay. Now, explain the methodology. You said nationality. Where do you get the nationality rating from?
Nationality rating, I think you get that from Basel. I think that's it. Get that from Basel.
Basel Committee.
Committee.
Where do you get domicile from?
Domicile is between Basel Transparency International and the BSA manual. The BSA manual, what you say, only deals with the profession aspect, unless you're paying for the upgrade, and there are like 10 different upgrades, right?
Yeah. Okay, and then explain the scoring system. This is where you talk about the high, medium, or low.
High, medium, and low, scoring system.
Right there, see? This is the scoring system, okay? You can get different points have different weights. And normally, you know, this says 0 to 40 is low, 50 to 70 is medium, and more than 80 is high. But again, it just, however your company tailors it, okay? It won't look exact. You know, they won't have all of these categories.
So this one that's in the book, where it's speaking to, like you say, it's based on the company. Low risk is 8% tolerance, 50% tolerance for medium risk, and high risk is like 20%.
Yeah, which means that when you're doing transactional monitoring on, let's just say, your limit, you make $5,000 a month. So we shouldn't expect more than $5,000 from you. So we can tolerate 20% before we say it's unusual, right? So you might get deposits, say 7,000. And we say, you could have made some overtime. You ain't got a card going to ask you if you work overtime this month. You know, it's Christmas. So most companies give a Christmas bonus. So we can get all the hits when the Christmas bonus line. But we could check it and we could confirm that Royal Bank gave a Christmas bonus. And so we need the write-up suspicious transactions report. Remember now, most hits, I say the wrong thing all the time, are false negatives or false positives, right? They are not really hits, but the system has, you know, it has the triggers and the profiles are in the system. So if your profiles say you must have deposit 5,000, we put that 20% tolerance in there and say you could deposit 6,000. But if you get a Christmas bonus, your salary is 5,000, you get a Christmas bonus and you end up getting 8,000, of course, there's going to be a hit tomorrow in the system. We got to clear all them hits. So next to each of them, we can say Christmas bonus RBC, Christmas bonus Scotiabank, Christmas bonus this, Christmas bonus that. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is why I want you to go to your organizations and ask, if Kendrick went to jail tonight, is the system scanning all these names that are in our system every night? And if it is, what system is scanning it? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be WorldCheck. Okay, or LexisNexis. There are a lot of systems out there. What is our transaction monitoring system? Does it do transactions and activity, or just transactions, meaning numbers, meaning only if they go outside their profile will we get a hit, or does it hit if they get arrested? Do we use the cause list or any stuff from the Supreme Court? How do we know that Kendrick went to jail? How do we know that SPF was arrested? Are we only depending on the newspaper? Can be. Okay, and is there anything that has to be done manually? You should know what it is. Okay, so you start with looking at your job description and your functions, because some of you, the organizations that you work in, don't use very savvy systems. You're maybe using QuickBooks. So outside of QuickBooks, what protects you? You should know. Okay, because this is the only way you will determine something is unusual or somebody is outside of their profile. You can't walk around with every file, especially if you have 800 clients. Okay, and you need the proper metrics in place, because you can't know 800 clients. If 100 are assigned to you, you could get to know 100 people, because each of those 100 accounts may have 2 or 3 persons on it. And if they are company accounts, Jesus, they have 10 directors or the board of directors, shareholders. You got to know all those people as well. Okay, so you need proper metrics in place, and you need to know how operational accounts are before they are assigned to you. Many companies say, we have a operations department. They put a generic box and whoever available serve that customer. It's very difficult because that means you serve that customer once, so you can't pick up a pattern. You know, so structure, metrics in place is very important. Okay, and time allotted for all this training, time allotted to study, time allotted to reviews, because everybody overworked and underpaid. And so this is why the hackers, you know, they lock up in a room all day. One hit, they get 10 million, they good for the rest of the year, depending on how easy it is. Okay, so find out and come prepared for, you know, the suspicious transactions, and you can tell me. I will be alerted. There will be a report that will spit out and say that Kendrick went to jail last night. There will be something in the system. Sorry?
I ain't going to jail.
You extradited. Good. If the rest of them ain't going to jail, Kendrick, you gotta go to jail.
But I ain't got no money like that. I ain't got no high-powered attorneys.
Well, only poor people is go to jail, Kendrick, then. That's what you say. That's only
Well,
poor people is
well,
going
you see,
to.
the billionaire had a $1,500 attorney, so anything is possible, man.
Yeah, well, he's an outlier, Eddie. He's an outlier. He's an outlier.
Watch. I put in the group, guys, where Forbes said that he's fighting the extradition.
Yeah, I thought they could bring in KD Knight, man. KD Knight, bring him from Jamaica.
You better bring in somebody.
Yeah, you got to afford KD Knight, man. Was KD Knight was charging what 250,000?
If he sleep like they say, they don't know if he can sleep in the university tonight, but if he sleep there tonight, I can tell you he can beg for extradition in the morning. I can tell you he ain't gonna be there till no February 3rd or February 8th. Over Christmas, no way. Yeah, he can make this quick. Go to his federal prison without air condition.
Yeah.
And
you all hear he's vegan, right?
Right.
You already say he's vegan.
Yeah, so they
accommodate
him.
So he want no fire engine. He want be no fire engine, eh?
But I surprised with y'all gonna hear tomorrow that they can't accommodate him because he's vegan. Right?
Mm-hmm. And well, they should be able to find some. They should be able to find some white rice to give him, white rice and oats and stuff
like that. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. A good case to pay attention to, so we can all learn. Okay, a lot of these broker dealers and cryptocurrency companies are popping up, and a lot of us work there. So please be on your guard and blow the whistle. I don't understand how all those employees there and nobody blew the whistle. Somebody had to know something. You know, it's crazy. But anyway, guys, risk rating. Okay, so risk appetite, risk assessment, risk rating. Recommendation 1, methodology. Okay, all of you should be leaving here tonight understanding how to answer question 7. Okay, very popular question on the exam. But let me know if you have any questions or concerns.
Okay, ma'am.
No?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, guys. Well, take some time and look at the classwork, and then we'll talk again next week. So no further questions or concerns. You okay? Have a good evening, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Good night.
Okay, good night.